The Pacific Division leaders come to Edmonton for Hockey Night in Canada, but could they be in trouble against the Edmonton Oilers? We will talk about that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Oilers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host and former Oilers game day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned on today's episode, the Vegas Golden Knights come in for a very massive Pacific Division matchup against the Edmonton Oilers on Hockey Night in Canada. But it sounds like there may be missing some players for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. We will talk about that in just a second. But also on today's episode, the three keys to victory for the Oilers over the Pacific Division leaders, the Vegas Golden Knights. And to wrap up today's episode, the Beast of the Week. I think we all know who this beast is going to be. Probably that guy who scored, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't count to 60, but it is a lot. Either way, all that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers. Thank you for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcast. Alrighty, let's get into tomorrow night's matchup between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers. As the Vegas Golden Knights come into town after a massive 3-2 overtime victory over the Calgary Flames just the other night. Now, the Edmonton Oilers are coming in, and it sounds like they're going to have most of their lineup healthy, or I should say they will have all of their lineup healthy. But I say most because Ryan McLeod was skating at practice for the Edmonton Oilers today. Wasn't on an official line, but these were the lines that the Edmonton Oilers were rolling with in practice right now. Evander Kane on the top line alongside Connor McDavid and Kyler Yamamoto. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on the second line alongside Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman. Warren Foegele skating on the third line with Nick Bjugstad and Derek Ryan. And Klim Kostin on the fourth line alongside Devin Shore and Matthias Janmark. As mentioned, Ryan McLeod was an extra skater out there today for the Oilers at practice. Doesn't sound like he'll get into play, but good to know that he is back on the ice for the Oilers. The defensive pairings for the Oilers, Darnell Nurse is back with Cody Ceci at practice. Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard are the second pairing. Brett Kulak and Vinny Desharnais, the third pairing, and Philip Broberg being the seventh defenseman for the Oilers. In the starters net for the Oilers heading into tomorrow's game against the Golden Knights, Stuart Skinner. Now, on the flip side, the Vegas Golden Knights, as mentioned, played against the Calgary Flames on Thursday night, a 3-2 win, in overtime. Sorry, whenever I hear Calgary, I always think a loss. But a 3-2 win for the Vegas Golden Knights in overtime against the Calgary Flames. However, during that game, Logan Thompson injured himself, and Jonathan Quick had to come in and play the rest of the game. Logan Thompson has flown back to Las Vegas for a re-evaluation on his injury, which is sad because this is actually, or yesterday's game was his first start being back after being injured for 6 weeks. His first start back, he re-injures himself, or at least we assume it's a re-injury of the old injury. If not, we will find out. But he's not the only Vegas Golden Knight flying back to Vegas. Riley Smith, who also suffered an injury at some point, I believe in that game, is also flying back to Vegas, or has flown back to Vegas due to an injury. And defenseman Alec Martinez is also flying back home, or has flown back home to Vegas for a personal matter, and will not be available on Saturday for the Vegas Golden Knights against the Edmonton Oilers. Why is this important? Well, when you take a look at some of the league leaders in the NHL, the Vegas Golden Knights in certain statistics, or in most statistics, aren't at the top. They are the leaders of the Pacific Division. that's a team, not statistic, because obviously a win is a win and that is what you're there for. So many other things obviously go into a win. But when you take a look at some of these more talked about stats and numbers, the Vegas Golden Knights aren't really in that conversation. And you take a look at the players that they are losing in this game against the Edmonton Oilers, they may be massive losses. The Edmonton Oilers power play, obviously everybody knows they are the best power play in the league, potentially could break the record for the best power play of all time. They currently sit with a 31.5% first in the league, where the Vegas Golden Knights sit 21st, or sit with a 21.1%, 16th in the league when it comes to the power play. The penalty kill, obviously not a great factor for the Edmonton Oilers, where they sit 25th in the NHL with a 75.5, but the Vegas Golden Knights aren't that much better. 78.8% on the penalty kill, 17th in the NHL, and it still doesn't get better. Goals for per game, the Edmonton Oilers first in the NHL with 3.93, the Vegas Golden Knights 3.25, 15th in the NHL, and the only one that is actually in the top 10 for the Vegas Golden Knights, goals against per games played, they sit 10th in the NHL with a 2.76, the Edmonton Oilers 21st with a 3.31. How do those players factor in? Well, with most of those, like the power play, Riley Smith is a massive, massive offensive talent for the Vegas Golden Knights. The penalty kill, Alec Martinez plays on that penalty kill as well. The goals against goes to not only Alec Martinez, but also to Logan Thompson, who is an all-star for the Pacific Division. That also goes into the penalty kill. There are a lot of aspects to the Vegas Golden Knights that aren't too hot right now that are affected by the players who are out tomorrow night against the Edmonton Oilers. Last thing before we move on to the three keys to victory for the Edmonton Oilers over the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow is the last 5 games for the Vegas Golden Knights on paper has looked very impressive. 4 wins in their last 5 games. They're on a 3-game win streak. But here's their last 5 games. A 3-2 overtime win over the Calgary Flames. A 4-3 1-goal win over the Vancouver Canucks. A 7-2 battering of the worst team in the league, the Columbus Blue Jackets. A 7-2 loss to the Calgary Flames, who they only beat by 1 goal yesterday. And a 5-3 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. Teams they should be beating, hardly beating. But you can say that about the Edmonton Oilers too. An overtime win over the Arizona Coyotes and the San Jose Sharks. A big win against the Seattle Kraken. But there are some things between both teams here that you sit there and go, okay, you are beating these teams that you should be beating, but maybe not by the scoreline you should be beating them by. So, with that being said, how can this team beat the Vegas Golden Knights? Well, we will talk about that in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. No matter how the last game went, anytime you take the field, you've got a shot at greatness. Give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer valid through March 31st. Alrighty, let's move on to the 3 keys to victory for the Edmonton Oilers over the Pacific Division leaders, the Vegas Golden Knights. The first one being take advantage on the power play. The Edmonton Oilers have scored a power play goal in every game where they have had at least 3 power play opportunities. Now, that's not a promise that they are going to get 3 power play opportunities in this game. However, the Edmonton Oilers do have a 31.5% power play and is first in the league right now. Could be on pace still to beat the NHL record for power plays. But the big thing here is the Vegas Golden Knights penalty kill isn't that great. We already went through that recently with the players they are also losing with Alec Martinez, Riley Smith, and Logan Thompson. But that's still only sitting at a 78.8% in the NHL or on the season as well for the Vegas Golden Knights. That's not fantastic, and for the Edmonton Oilers to go up against a very good team, but also a team that they're chasing in the division, chasing for a seeding as well. This is a real 4-point game for the Edmonton Oilers, and if they can take advantage of an already not fantastic, not the best penalty kill in the NHL, they can go on to win this game. So the first key to victory for the Edmonton Oilers, take advantage on the power play. The second key to the Edmonton Oilers' victory over the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow is the new goalie. Who's going to be in net for the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow? Will it be Jonathan Quick, who finished that game against the Calgary Flames? Is it going to be former Edmonton Oiler Laurent Brossoit? Will he be playing for them? Will it be Aiden Hill? There isn't really a definitive answer right now. What we do know is Logan Thompson has left Canada, has gone back to Las Vegas, and will not be in this game. So the Edmonton Oilers are going to be facing the backup goalie for the Vegas Golden Knights. Still the Vegas Golden Knights, and again, there's a strong possibility that it's one of the best goaltenders of the last generation in Jonathan Quick, but Jonathan Quick also hasn't been fantastic this year with a sub-900 save percentage. So there's the give and take there. You know that they don't have their starting goaltender in Logan Thompson. You know you're going to be playing against their backup goaltender. Will it be a Jonathan Quick? Will it be a Brossoit? Will it be an Aiden Hill? It will be left to see, especially probably up until puck drop during warmups, for the game. But you still got to take advantage of a goalie who's not fully prepared yet. And still, the last time Jonathan Quick played at Rogers Place, I think we all know what happened. Game 7. Anyways, let's move on to the third and final key to victory for the Edmonton Oilers over the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is the defensive work. The Edmonton Oilers have no problem scoring goals. We know that, and we know that the Edmonton Oilers have the best power play in the league as well. That doesn't say anything about their ability to prevent the puck going into the net. The Edmonton Oilers have had issues this season, all season, have been better with Mattias Ekholm, but it still needs to be better, especially against an obvious division rival, but a strong chance that the Edmonton Oilers are probably going to see this team in the playoffs, maybe not in the first round, but probably in the second round as well. So this is a big game for the Edmonton Oilers to really understand the cycle that the Vegas Golden Knights have, their zone entries, and the ability to shut those top players down. This is a big test for the Edmonton Oilers defensemen tomorrow night. Alrighty, let's summarize the 3 keys to victory for the Edmonton Oilers to victory over the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow night. And the first one being take advantage on the power play. 31.5 power play, the best in the league, versus a very mediocre penalty kill with players missing tomorrow, a 78.8. The Edmonton Oilers need to take advantage. The second one, new goalie. Who's it going to be? Jonathan Quick, Laurent Brossoit, Aiden Hill, we don't know, but the Edmonton Oilers need to take advantage of the goaltender who's not the starting goaltender in Vegas. And the third and final key to victory for the Edmonton Oilers is defensive work. This is going to be a tough game for the Edmonton Oilers, a tough game for the Edmonton Oilers defensemen and defensive forwards and defense in general. This is a real measuring stick game for the Edmonton Oilers, so how do they stack up against a potential second round opponent. We shall see tomorrow night as the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights face off at Rogers Place for Hockey Night in Canada. I can't get any better than that. Alrighty, let's wrap up today's episode with the Beast of the Week. And this beast created Edmonton Oilers history. We will talk about that in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from money line to point spreads and which team will be cutting down the net. Unfortunately, I had UCLA. Anyways, it is all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss out on your shot at the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. When you join FanDuel today, just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Alrighty, let's wrap up today's episode with the Beast of the Week as we normally do on Fridays. And this beast was an absolute, let's be real, he was a dog. As you can even hear the dogs barking next door. That's how much of a dog Connor McDavid was this week in 3 games. This week for the Edmonton Oilers, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. Now, those 3 goals eventually led up and equated to Connor McDavid's 60th goal of the year, which is the most amount of goals scored by any Edmonton Oilers since 1986, 1987, which is when Wayne Gretzky did it with 62. Here's a couple more numbers for you over the week with Connor McDavid. Two goals against the Arizona Coyotes, including the game-winning goal in overtime after bashing his stick on the boards twice. Not only is Connor McDavid's skill strong, but so is his stick. Then he also had the game-winning goal, or as mentioned, he got the game-winning goal against Arizona, but he also had 2 assists against the San Jose Sharks, also chipping in with a pretty decent game as well. And then 3 points against the Seattle Kraken in a massive game, including a goal in that game on his only shot of the game. He scored. Connor McDavid helped lead the Edmonton Oilers against a Pacific Division rival in the Seattle Kraken, but helped the Edmonton Oilers push through games that they needed to win against San Jose, against the Arizona Coyotes. And yes, those are games the Edmonton Oilers should win. But when the Edmonton Oilers are struggling, when you have a guy like Connor McDavid, obviously, and Leon Draisaitl. By the way, honorable mention to Leon Draisaitl for this week. No goals this week, 9 assists. Let Connor McDavid do it all this week and helped Connor McDavid get his 60th goal of the year. The Beast of the Week, Connor McDavid. We shall see if Connor McDavid can reach that Wayne Gretzky 62 mark tomorrow as the Vegas Golden Knights come into town. Hockey Night in Canada, first place in the Pacific Division versus third place in the Pacific Division. It will be an absolute banger at Rogers. Oh, what a game tomorrow night we will have. Until then, today was also the 1-year anniversary of meeting the oil country, or I guess oil country meeting Ben Stelter. It is a heavy-hearted day. That is why we always have this photo right here of Ben Stelter, always in our hearts. And hopefully throughout this weekend, you can remember him by playing La Bamba, baby.